Hello YouTube, I'm so happy you're here. In today's video, I really want to talk to you about finding love, finding your soulmate, finding that person for you. So especially if you are over 40 and you're looking for love, if you have never been married and you're wanting desperately to be, or if you are back out there, or even if you're in partnership and you're just noticing that you guys are no longer aligned, or you're in fear that your partner's not evolving with you or going to grow with you, or you're lacking intimacy and connection, this video is going to be highly supportive for you. So I have been in the life coaching, transformational coaching space for over 20 years. I have multiple soulmate marriages under my belt and have helped repair many of marriages. What I want to talk to you about today, though, is more about my experience, because I, as somebody that helped people live their dreams, and I've achieved so many of my own, I felt like love eluded me. So I really want to share with you and just be very honest and real about my journey with love and how I got to where I am. And now I am in a committed, very loving, beautiful relationship. And I'd love to share just kind of what I did to get here, as I truly have tried it all. And I mean tried it all. We're talking feng shui, letters, burning letters, letters under my pillow, boxes for my husband, Bible verses for my husband, you name it, hiring coaches where I've spent thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, every book you can think of, somatic work, therapy, trauma, like whatever there was. And I was trying to sit there and pinpoint, what was it? I didn't know. My parents have been married. I recently lost my mother, but until then, my parents have been married for 55 years. They're like true soulmates, together for 60. They met when they were 16. So I didn't have this, I didn't really know what my issue, right? So that brings me to my first point. If you've been looking for love for a long time and you feel like it eludes you, and maybe you've been successful in every other area, right? And that was me. I mean, and people would say, I don't get it. Which, oh my God, I wanted to kill myself. They're like, you're so pretty. I don't understand. Are you just married to your work? Are you just didn't want marriage? And then the assumption is, are you just a bitch? Or are you married to your work? Or, you didn't want kids. And I'm like, no, and no. I have good balance in my life. I do on children. I'm like, I have no qualms with marriage. I actually think it's absolutely beautiful. So, it's just fascinating, the pressure that gets put specifically on women. I would do these share houses when I lived in New York City and be up in the Hamptons. And I remember there would be guys in our share house that were in their 60s. And I was like, what's going on? And then, and I don't mean it in a judgment space, but, well, it sounded very judgy. It was more observing and kind of going, oh, this is so interesting that there's a 60-year-old man with like a 24-year-old girl, and it's like high fives to the guy, but if you had a 60-year-old woman hanging out in a share house, it would be like it was just, so there was a lot that I saw, and having lived in cities like New York City for 14 years, where it's more a Peter Pan energy, and people are, you're not necessarily going to New York to find love. You're going to New York to pursue a dream, right? Not saying love can't happen there, but it's very much more of a playground. So going from there then to LA and like being an entrepreneur. And so I want to share this with you. So if you felt like you've been successful and had all of these achievements and love is eluding you, I felt that way a lot. And here are a few things that I want to share with you in today's video about what you can do to transform your relationships, to transform your love life, and to have things happen differently. So I want to hear from you in the comments below. Do you relate? Have you had success in every other area of your life, and your love life is the one that you're like, what is going on? Or maybe it's not your love life. Maybe it's your body. Maybe it's weight. I have that a lot with women in my community. So what is that for you? Can you relate to that? My next question is, what do you relate to? So let me throw some things out here. Do you find that you go on dates and you don't find anybody attractive, or there's people that don't excite you, or they're not on your same level? Do you find that you fall for people and they don't reciprocate? Or maybe you go out on great dates with guys that are great on paper, but you find that you keep coming home night after night and you just didn't feel chemistry? Like, it was great, it was fine. Did you find that you needed to diminish your success, that they would get intimidated? Have you heard that you're intimidating a lot? So these are a lot of different things that I would experience. And again, I want to say, so let's dive into the points. The first thing that really was supportive for me was, actually, let me say this. The thing that I found hindered me the most, and this is why I'm such an advocate for reinvention, is I got tied to the identity of a girl that struggles in love. I got tied to the identity and got lost in the story that somebody once labeled me that said, oh, do you have an issue with blank? Do you have an issue with commitment, or what's going on? Like, I had never had a problem in relationships ever. I always had wonderful men around. Like, I was in incredible relationships. I've always been treated like a queen, very grounded in my worth. No one cheated, no one right? And there was wonderful relationships with wonderful men. It was me that would end them, right? And so out of nowhere, once all my friends started getting married, what happened for me was, the truth is, I didn't want to get married. But at the time, I'm Italian and Irish, and all my friends were leaving the city and getting married, and it was wedding after wedding after wedding. I just assumed that's what I should want. So I started getting caught up in, well, what's going on? And I got out of a serious relationship when I was 30. So I was like, well, like all of a sudden there was like pressure around dating, pressure around my family, and dating no longer was fun. It was like I was going out and there was like a checklist. Like, I would sit down and I'd be like, he can't, blah, blah, blah. I mean, I feel so bad for these men. And there was that. It was my level of awareness at the time. So the first mistake that I made was allowing somebody else to label me and tell me that I needed a love coach or support because there was something wrong with me. And I easily, as somebody that was insecure and not fully grounded in herself, right? This was like the height when I was struggling with my weight and disordered eating. I was like, oh, I have a problem with love. And I totally bought into that. And I created an identity that stayed with me for like the next, I'm not kidding you, 15 years around needing, having problems with love and no one's right. And oh my God, and I can't find love. Like, you could interview a million of my friends and they would be like, oh yeah. And Melissa, did she find somebody? I guarantee that they would be something around me wanting love, really wanting to get married, not finding the one, something. And it became a story that really, really hindered me experiencing more joy in my life, more happiness in my life. No matter what success I had, it was always, yeah, but you're not married yet. And it was coming from myself. Yes, it was coming from my family. I would hear it from my parents. I mean, I remember I know my mom's like, just pick someone, anyone. Anybody. One of these guys. And my dad would be like, Melly, did you get rid of another one? And what was wrong with that one? And I was like, this is ridiculous. Enough. I don't need the whole corral here having commentary, right? And so I really could write an entire screenplay about my dating experiences and my life in the relationship space. And then we combine that with my family. I could see it all over. But if anybody can relate to this, I'd love to know. So mistake number one, please don't get tied to an identity that you have an issue with love, that you're a commitment phobe, that your family effed you up, that your parents divorced, blah, 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 that you have a problem with this, that you're a workaholic. Stop. Never label yourself unless you want the label. Never limit yourself with an identity that doesn't serve you and only hurts you. One. I really wish that I could go back and have said that to myself and put that in a love coaching manual. Two, no matter what program, book, anything you read, understand that all you need to do is apply one principle from that book to have a transformation in your dating life, but it comes from you deciding that you're actually ready and that this is what you want. So do you really want a relationship? Do you really want love? And I know you might be sitting here going, yeah, that's why I hit this video, Melissa. That's why I'm here. I'm saying this to you because I think for over a decade, I told everybody that I wanted love and to be married. But the bottom line is, anything I've ever wanted in my life, I have achieved. I've done it. I've achieved it with gusto. So for me to say that I want something and not have it, one, it was making me feel hopeless and powerless, which is the opposite of what I teach and know to be true in my soul, right? Because we are the cause to our effect. We have all the power. Of course, if we want something, if desire in our heart was placed there by source energy for a reason, it's already done. So who am I to question where it's coming from? I just need to believe. So why am I stopping my own belief? Well, the truth is, I actually didn't want to get married then. I wasn't ready. I wanted to go and do other things. I wanted to find out more about who I was. I spent a lot of my life living for other people and living into identities that weren't who I really was. And once I got liberated and was living by myself and in New York City and pursuing things that brought me joy and learning about me, I didn't want to go and partner with somebody. That wasn't what my soul was craving. So really ask yourself, because I find that so much pain is caused, whether it's losing weight or making money or pursuing a dream or having kids or anything. It's a lot of times the pain comes because we have a goal that we keep putting on our goal list, and we feel like we're working towards something that's eluding us, when in reality it's eluding us because we weren't ready for it, we don't really want it, or it's somebody else's dream that got put on us, and now it's just perpetuating the feeling of failure year after year. And I did that. I didn't realize it at the time, but once I looked and I was like, wait a minute. I think I was like 40. I'd gone through cancer, and I was like, I'll never forget. I'm on the phone with my mom. I'm living in San Diego. I'm in Encinitas. It's a little spiritual surf town. I'm like walking on the hills. And I was like, Mom, I had this epiphany today that nothing in my life that I've done has been traditional. Nothing. I am the furthest thing from traditional in our family. Everybody else in our family is completely traditional. I moved away, never went back. I've moved across the country. I've lived around the world. I started my business. I quit my job. I'm not married. I don't have kids. Nothing that I've done at all. And I was like, so why would I think that marriage, one of that wasn't me clearly? It doesn't mean I don't want it. It doesn't mean I won't have it. And you see, so I had to have this, it was like this big aha, right? And I just say that to you because if you're in a space where you're feeling less than, or there's this lack, that was a huge one for me. Now that brings me to point number 3. So what did I do to flip the switch to now be in a committed, loving relationship where, it's literally everything that I've ever scripted happens. And I'm not sitting here to claim that oh my God, I don't want to get caught in future tripping about anything. I'm just very happy. And I'm in love with an amazing man who treats me he just treats me like an absolute queen. And it's beautiful and loving and wonderful. And it happened very fast when I did this. So what I started to do was, instead of working for it and constantly journaling about it as if it's out here, and putting work around it, I must do these things. I'm going to tap each day around love. I'm going to read this book around love. I'm going to do this course around love. I'm going to I must act like her. I just actually took the gas off and I dropped into, this is already done. What do I believe and know to be true in my heart? I believe a desire in my heart was placed there by God for a reason, because it's already mine. I teach that, I live it. So why would, out of all the people in the world, what am I the only one that's denied love? Well, what if it's right here for me? And what if this entire time, what I was really craving most was to be a soulmate to myself, to actualize that version of me, to be that, so that I could see a future with somebody else, right? And what if that actualization is already done? That I can stop adding to this. It doesn't mean I don't have goals, but what it was twofold. It was a surrender and it was an acceptance. It was, I am accepting that I'm already good. That if the husband, if the children, if that doesn't happen, I've lived a really beautiful, bold, gorgeous life. I've done more in my life than people do in 10 lifetimes. I've done books, podcasts, TED Talk, movies, started my own business, was a fashion designer, traveled the world, lived all over. I've had epic love. You know, I've been the best daughter, aunt, sister. You know, I've been a mother to many thousands in a different way. Doesn't have to be traditional motherhood. So in essence, I've lived my dreams. Does that mean that I don't want for more? No. Does that mean that like that's what our life is here for? But I had to really get into a space of one, celebrating the F out of myself. And two, accepting and going, if this marriage, husband, babe, like doesn't happen, I'm good. I'm good with me. I'm really proud of me. I accept me. I love me. And then I surrendered and I let go. Now and I'm gonna tell you the other internal things that I did, but this is huge. So I had to accept and let go. And people used to say to me, well, you just need to let go of being married completely. And I was like, how do you let go of something that you want so much? How do you let go of something that like you have everything else? Like, how do you let go? And I was like, wow, I am gripping so tightly. I couldn't see it, but I was afraid that if I didn't have that, what did that mean about me? And then I would go, yeah, but I want to experience my dad walking me down. And before, you know, I lose my mom, which, you know, I lost. I want to experience wedding dress shop. And so I had to let all of that go and just go, that doesn't mean that there's anything less about me. And again, what's the fear? What am I making this mean? Why is marriage and this relationship, how has it gotten, often when we desire something for so long and we feel like we've invested time and money and we're doing all this internal work around it, it gets put on this pedestal. And the more we do, the further it goes out and it feels like we can't even reach it. And it feels like this thing that you can't even fathom. Like the idea that that could even happen is like, what? And I remember I would journal year after year, this Christmas I'm with my husband and we're like blah, blah, blah. And I was like, another year would go by and I'm like, I manifested all these other things. And I was like, okay. And people would go, what's the block? Where did you really get hurt? And I'm like, I truly like, the biggest heartbreak I think that I had was my best friend and I not being friends. Like that broke my heart more than anything. It was like my sister died in an instant, but she was still alive. It was like the craziest thing that I couldn't like wrap my head around. It was heartbreaking. Felt like I like lost a part of myself. So I was like, okay, well I could liken to a soulmate. You know, I do believe soulmates, it doesn't just have to be romantic. So I was like, okay, and I looked within. So I just say this to you because ask yourself, have you put it on a pedestal where it feels so far from you that because if something feels that far, then now it's going into a dream, then something that we can pull back in. So now we have to bring it back down. So for me, what I started doing was I was like, instead of I'm married and I have this and this time, I was just like, I'm in love and I have a boyfriend for the holidays. Like the holidays was a big thing for me, clearly. I love them. And unfortunately this year my mom passed. I'm laughing or else I'd cry saying it and I can't look right now because I have a tear in my eye. But it still gets me, okay. She was gonna meet my boyfriend at Christmas, but she left too early. So, I will probably edit this out. Okay. So I see this, which we'll go back to this point, never put off tomorrow what you can do or say today. That is my one regret from her passing because she really wanted to meet him. And I kept waiting. Never put off tomorrow what you can do or say today. So going into that, what I did was I brought it down. You know, when they talk about the ladder of belief, I brought it down and I said, married, it just feels too far. Like it feels like something that I've put out there is a lot. So let's just, and I don't need to like get married in 30 days or 90 days or whatever. I just, let's just drop it down. I was like, my mind could get around a boyfriend. So just recognize with anything that you want to attract into your world, you got to go down the ladder of belief. If you can't wrap your head around it, it stays up here, and it's hard for it to become a felt experience in the body. And if it can't be a felt experience in the body, then it's not actually in this 3D reality. You're not dropping it in, and it's going to be harder and harder to manifest, right? Energetically, it's too far away. So what I want to tell you is, that was what I did. So I brought it down. I brought it more into this space. So let's just recap here. 1, don't allow anybody to tell you an identity that you're broken, that relationships are hard for you. Notice your language around relationships. I'm always single. There's never any good people out there. I'm never attracted to them, or they're never attracted to me, or every time I fall for somebody, I fall for the wrong guy, or this one cheats, or the minute stories. Stop. You're creating your reality with every word that you say, and every time you repeat a story, you're cementing in an identity and a truth about you that you don't want. So stop unless it's serving you, okay? So no, don't let anybody tell you that something's wrong with you, that you're broken. Never invest in a course, a program, or a product from a space of, I need this to fix me. You are not broken. You are perfect. You have everything you need. Only invest when you're going, okay, I'm so excited. I know this is the right thing that's going to unlock something in me or support me in my growth or my internal, but you're perfect. You can have everything right now. Decide it, own it, be it. Next, what you want to do is look at the ladder of belief. Have you moved something so far away from you? Let's bring it back down, and let's take time off the table. Too many people wrap a time frame around love. You would just be happy if it comes in. You don't want to rush something that's unnecessary. Allow for the development, the joy of the process. You don't need to rush anything. And if you're like, I want to be married in 60, 90 days, ask yourself, what is the rush and why? What are you making it mean? Why does that have to happen? And then if you hear, well, I want to have kids, it's like, okay, well, you could easily get pregnant and do it out of order. Look at what you're tied to and where you're putting unnecessary pressure on you. Next, what you want to do is really understand and no longer make yourself wrong for anything in the past. The past no longer exists. It's done. It doesn't matter what you did, didn't do, didn't say. You can go through the process of revisioning it, or you could just let it go and choose, I am me today, and this is what I want to do. Now, the next thing that I will say is the most profound thing you can do is accept all of you right now exactly as you are. Accept your life and be happy. Choose to be happy. Choose to celebrate you. Doesn't mean you're not going for other goals, doesn't mean that you don't want other things, but choose right now to be happy in who you are, what you're doing, and who you're being. Choose to celebrate the F out of everything you've done and don't hold back. Everything you've done. See that you are the answer to your own prayers, that you are the greatest gift, you are the prize. Anyone is lucky to have you. The more that you put this down on paper and you cement it in and you see it and you celebrate you, the more you're going to go, oh my God, that's right. And what that does too is whoever comes in, you're not going to lose yourself because you're like, wait a minute, I'm a catch. I'm a prize. They are lucky to have me. If it's not them, it's going to be somebody else. And whoever does come into your space, you bless them. You bless them because they are mirroring an aspect of you that gets to get healed, that gets to go higher. And together, you both are opening your hearts to be the greatest love of your life to yourself, to them, and to the next partner if it's not them. So I sit here today and even say, this man that I'm with right now, yes, I'm so happy, but I don't need to put pressure on this because if it's not him, then it's going to be the person right after him. I don't need to hold tightly. I'm secure in me. I'm secure in us. I'm so grateful for what we have right now and already the growth and what I've gotten to experience and how I've expanded and opened my heart and gotten triggered and gotten to see things and grow and learn, and how I've gotten to love somebody else and give to them and receive from them. And that is priceless. So I don't need to hold on and strangle it with who am I to you and what is this going to be and where are we going and what does this mean? We only do that when we're in a space of needing it to fulfill something that we lack within ourselves, which brings me to the other point that is so important: wholeness. And so I had talked about accepting oneself. Before I go into wholeness, I want to go into surrender, because I did something that was pivotal. For any of you that are online and you're scrolling, and I got a big download and I saw, wow, I'm sitting here on Bumble, and this, if I really was in faith, you know, I talk a lot about faith, that I was in faith, that my partner was here, that I am in a partnership, that I'm married, that I'm with the love of my life, that we're happy, that we're this, then would I be on Bumble right now? No. And if I'm in faith that divine source energy is sending my soulmate to me, my counterpart, who's on the same vibrational frequency as me, if not higher, or on the highest vibrational frequency to match the highest and best version of me, that I will grow and we will expand in that, right? Well, would I be on Bumble? Because me being on Bumble means that I'm in control, that I'm not saying select for me. I'm saying I'm going to be doing the selection. I'm going to be in the energy. That's what I got for me. There's a lot of different trains of thought. I also totally get, and I have clients where I'm like, you need to do something. You need to put out to the universe that you are ready, but you sitting on your sofa is not working. So if you need to get on the apps, I found for myself though, that I had been on and off it and on and off it, and it kind of became a crutch. I'm not a drinker. It was like, so going out to the bars and like, that's not my thing. And yeah, I was just like, so I noticed though that I clearly was not in faith. I was trying to make it happen. And I was also sending a message to the universe that I'll settle for whatever you give me, because I also was newer to this area and getting like in community and friends and things. And I was like, oh, it's also kind of a social thing. And then I was like, oh, interesting. I'm also setting off a message that I'm saying I want one thing essentially, and I'm doing another. I'm saying I'm in full faith, but then I'm on the apps. I'm saying that this is what I want, but then I'm accepting a date that's so not what I'm looking for. I'm saying that I want a full commitment, but then I'm just going out with this one that I know it's going to turn into nothing, and it's more just something to kind of fill some time and space. No bueno. Right? And so I stopped that. I was very, very clear, and I turned it over and I said, God, you are my matchmaker. God, universe, source energy, whatever you believe in. I said, you are my matchmaker. I have full faith in you. I'm turning over my love life to you. You take the wheel. You do you, boo. I'm going to show up. And so I did. I still went out that night that I met him. I was going out to dinner and meeting my friend at a bar, at a bar restaurants, like good vibe, like up the street. I was meeting at her 6 and I was leaving at 8 when he walked in. Like, I think I had on like bodysuit, like wide leg, like knit pants, like my hair was all, I mean, I don't know what's going on. My hair was all crazy. And yeah, and I met him, and that was that. And so I say this because I didn't sit at home, but I wasn't like, I have to go out and so forth. I was just like, I'm going out. I have to be in the energy of being out. I'm going to go out from 6. I'll be home at 8. I can like whatever. And it was a Friday night. Yes, tons of fun. So it's really important too to check in with, are you sending dual messages? Are you in full faith, or are you in control and squeezing the control because you're in such fear that it's not going to happen? And what are you making a relationship, being in love, having a partner mean about you? And also looking at, where are you unfulfilled in your life? Now, I know that's it's loaded, but let me go into a few other things that I did that really helped to call this person in. One, I did look at feng shui, and my house was already like set up. I'm already very clean. Like anybody that would come to my door would be like, I like your home. I like everything's clean. Like it was all very welcoming. So look at your home, and would you be proud to have somebody there? I looked at, do I have clothes that I feel good in? Like clothes for a date night? Like what's my pajama situation? Am I sitting here like going to bed in sweats, or am I going to bed in something that if my person was here right now, they would see me in this? So I went and I got myself, because I mean, I have my cute little silk PJs and my shorts and my this and my that, but what I was noticing I was wearing every night was not. It was like the big baggy, like loose, like sweatpant PJs with the big sweatshirt and the t-shirt that's got the holes. And I was like, well, let me start. So I have my silk bathrobe, and then I have my nice slippers, and I started doing, and then I was like, well, they would be hung here. And if he was here, I would have room for his things over here. So I started to make room. I cleared things out. And so this is another thing that I did. You might think that I'm super crazy. I don't care. I'm big with coffee mugs. And I went to my fave. I think it was Marshall's, and there was one that it's like a brown, kind of like looks more like rustic, like a man, more of a man's, and it says on the bottom, P.S. I love you. And on the back it has like, and it's like painted on, it says P.S. I should go get it for my room. It's so cute. And I put it next to his bed before he was there on a coaster. And so on our nightside tables, I also put a leather bound journal, because I'm a big journaler. And I was like, he's going to be a journaler too. We're going to go to bed at night. We'll like sip our tea or like our protein hot cocoa, like all the things that you see me do on my channel. So I was like, well, he would have a mug. And men like smaller mugs, like women, we like these bowls, right? The feminine. And men have like their little like handle. So his mug was smaller. I put it there. It signaled to my subconscious, like I would go, and every time I walk by the bed, I would see a coaster there, and it would signal to my mind, there's somebody on that side of the bed. I put a charger there. I had by his bed, I had David Data, I put David Data's book. I put a little like box. I put a little crystal thing that he could put his watch in. Like I was really thinking like, what are things that you would want next to your bedside table as a man, whatnot. So I did that. And then another thing that I did was I have a journal. I'm going to get it for you. This is right here. Okay. I don't know if you just saw my butt when I bent down. This is my journal, and I write a journal entry to God each day. I'm not saying you have to write to God. You could just write it to yourself. You could write it to me. You could just say universe, and I would just write what he said that day. Or I would go, wow, God, thank you so much. We are so in love. We're so happy. You blessed me with this. Or he showed up and he took me to dinner, or he told me he loved me. And thank you for the love of my life. Thank you for this. Thank you for that. I gave thanks with the expectancy and the assumption that it was done. And I would write in it, and I would have a smile on my face. I would drink, my lemon water in the morning, and I would just sit. I can show you. They keep going. Dear God, we're here together. It's already been a year. I still just get excited thinking about it. I can't believe I'm reading this to you guys right now. I can keep going if you want me to do this again. Here's an entry where I wrote, dear husband, I miss you. I wish you were here. So I allowed myself to really be in a space of this is done. I would, go to the grocery store, and I would, move my ring to my wedding ring finger, and I would think, I wonder what he wants to eat. What dinners would I make? I started thinking about what meals I would cook for us. And as somebody that's not a big meat eater, I really don't eat, I stopped eating meat for a long time. So I was like, well, I have a feeling like he eats meat. And I was like, so I probably should look at some different recipes and learn, get better at making this, or not, whatever. And we would cook dinners together, and I would always write, and we cook dinners together and this and that. and he's so healthy, and the man that I called in is so healthy. We cook dinners together. And yeah, we're putting steaks on the air fryer. It's just, so I say all of this to you because the things that I did were pivotal. And it was one, it also was taking the focused energy off of it missing, and that there was something wrong with me, and that I needed to fix me in order to have it. You'll notice, right? That's everything that I'm saying here. And instead I dropped into the energy of it's done. I don't need to work on it. It didn't mean that I wasn't still actively thinking in the space of that this was something that I was desiring and calling in. But it was from a different energy. It was from I'm at peace and I know this is happening. It was from a definitive space. And in that, there was immense peace and joy and a letting go that even when I met him, I was like, oh, there was a cool connection, and it's okay if I don't hear from him. And if it's not him, it's somebody else. And I'm really good with me, and it also made me completely unafraid to really declare what I'm looking for, what I want, what I'm not wanting, what my boundaries are, unapologetically, and not from a place of being bitchy, but really from a place of being grounded in my worth and speaking very freely, and also being unattached, where I was like, okay, if you aren't looking for the same thing, it's better to call a spade a spade. I don't want to waste my time. I don't think you want to waste your time. And I'm okay because I'm so confident and know that love is here for me, and it's meant for me, and it's on its way, and that's it. So there's a lot there, but really drop into and ask yourself, am I in full faith? And if I was in full faith, does my house reflect that? Does, my refrigerator reflect that? Do I have space that reflects that? Is there room here for somebody else? And am I already giving thanks in the assumption of it coming? And I would encourage those of you in partnership to do the same, because the last thing that I'm going to say about this that was the most mind-blowing of all was that in truth, it was never about him. It's never about the other person. It's about your connection to you and your happiness with self. And you being a soulmate to yourself is the reason why your soul came here. And yes, you will see that there will be some people in this life that you're friends with, that in your family, that became their best self while in partnership, that they healed while in partnership. That's what their soul contract was. That's why they came here. And there's others that actualize best by being themselves, and then they call in that partner, that they first have to be in full allowance of themselves and come to that realization of their full selves and their power. And in allowance of that and being that, then they are able to see a future with somebody else and call it in very quickly. But in all of this, if you are in partnership, look at where you're judging, look at if you're judging and what those judgments are, and then place your focused energy on what you love instead. Make a list of everything that you love about that person, what they do for you, how they make you feel, why you're grateful for them, all of that. And then place your focused energy there for at least 1 week. Every day, writing a letter to the universe, giving thanks, and detail out what it is that you want to experience with them, the things you want them to say to you, how you want to feel, how they make you feel, the shifts that you're seeing and that you're noticing. Envision this and bring it to life within your body. This is for those of you wanting a partnership. This is the same for those of you in a partnership and wanting to expand upon your intimacy, deepen your connection, feel more desired and chosen, and start to see that they're going to mirror and do exactly what you script out. It's going to come back to you. That's how powerful you are. So script out in the present tense. Dear Melissa, I think of you leaving me a comment on this video, which I would love. But really, I'm so happy and grateful. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. I did that last tip in your video. I scripted out that he came home with red roses, that he did this, that he said this to me, that we had the most epic set, whatever it is. I couldn't get over it. Oh my God, everything I wrote down, it came true. I've been doing it for months, and it's he all of a sudden has grown and conscious. I mean, whatever that is. And let me finish with this story. So as I shared with you guys, my mom passed away, and before I got on the plane, coming back, so my parents' house had sold a week before my mom passed, and this was a house they were in for a very long time. It was just a lot to go through at one time. And so I had to go there. My dad really was not in a space to handle this, so I was doing it. I was exhausted. It was after the funeral, I'm heartbroken. So it's this was just a few weeks ago. And I get on the plane, and apparently all the work that I had done with the realtor, none of it was all in vain. And I'm getting on the plane, and I'm like, you have to tell me that I just sat there for 2 weeks doing all of this, and I might not even get like my mother's china. Like I'm like this, because that, anyway, doesn't even matter. I was heartbroken. I get on the plane, I'm exhausted, and I come across my mom's prayer card. I'm sobbing on the plane because I hadn't actually read the prayer on the back. This like 13-year-old's next to me, and I'm sitting there, and my boyfriend was picking me up. I hadn't seen him in 17 days. I was, like I said, exhausted. I was emotionally wrought. I was all the things, and I'm sitting here, I'm just going, and I really need some support. I would love if my brother, you know, one of my brothers just said they'd help me, and they just kind of took this over, not in a condescending, like I can't handle it kind of way, but in just a loving way, I would just love some support. And I would love more than anything for my boyfriend to pick me up from the airport with a dozen roses and actually be there, like waiting for me, like Stand By Me style. Stand By Me, no, not say anything. That's what what am I thinking of? I don't know, it doesn't even matter. And because when you've been single a long time, getting off the airplane with the heavy bags and you're exhausted and it's just you, it's like, you know, so it's just like, oh, he said he's picking me up, so I hope he's not just in his car waiting outside. Like, I was just like, what? I asked myself in that moment when I was crying on the plane, what do I want to feel instead? What would I want to be true for me? If any and all things are possible, like, what would I love? And I was like, I would love that my brother calls me and says like, and I would love if he's waiting there with, not my brother, my boyfriend, with a dozen red roses, and he's got dinner and he gets my bags and he's just there, like he's there. And I was like, so I get off the plane. Before I even get off the plane, I'm getting out, my phone rings and it's my brother. What do you think he says? Hey Mel, what can I do to help you? Would it be okay if I took this over and supported? Would that be okay with you? So loving, so beautiful. I said, I would love that. Then next phone call, I'm walking out, babe, where are you? And I'm like, oh, I'm just coming through. I'm sorry, my phone died, my brother called, whatever, right? And I look up, dozen roses waiting for me at the top. Tell me this stuff doesn't work, because I could give you a million examples just like that. That was one that like literally like just happened. But that's how quickly, and it's a state of awareness to know where we are going vibrationally. And it's also then the power to know that in that moment we can script, take out a pen and paper, and we can shift our energy just by asking, what would I love? What would just make me so happy? And then doing that. And I didn't get tied to it. I wasn't like, if he doesn't have flowers, I'm gonna kill it. Like, it was just kind of like, what would I love? I would love. And then when my brother called, I was like, cool. And then I was like, I wonder. And then all of a sudden he was there with roses. I wasn't tied. I wasn't gonna make him wrong. I wasn't judging. I wasn't placing all this energy. It was just like a simple, like, what would I love? And from that energy, there's no resistance, so you can manifest quickly. But just recognize love comes from love. Love is the highest vibrational frequency. So if you're judging, they feel it. And what you're judging, all they're showing you is a trigger, a belief that you have about you. And they're showing you an opportunity for you to heal and grow in love and to actualize yourself, to be a better soulmate to yourself, so that they can be a better soulmate to you. That I promise you. So I'd love to hear, what did you get from today's video? And if you are really looking to reinvent yourself, if you're in a state of transition, you're ready for your next chapter, and you're ready to call in the greatest love, the greatest year, the greatest amount of wealth, your optimal health, then join me for Reinvent Yourself, my 2-day free live event happening February 20th and 21st. Sign up at the link below. I would absolutely love to have you, because I believe it's not about manifestation. I believe you don't need another strategy. You don't need another vision board. What we need to do is shift your identity, and that comes with clarity and the process of reinvention. I have a 4-step framework that I'm going to take you through. I promise if you do it, you're gonna get everything you ever wanted. This is a game changer. And I'm in a state of my biggest reinvention yet. So I'd love to do this with you. All right, I can't wait to hear from you. Let me know in the comments below. Did you enjoy this video? Totally different, totally raw, totally shared a lot of info. I don't think I'm gonna edit out anything. I'm just gonna keep it as is, because it's what we do here. And this is me. And I love you all, and let's rise higher together. Reinvention, comment reinvention if you want to come to the event. Also look in the link, it's right there. Sign up, I would love to see you there. If you are interested in mentoring, a mentorship with me, or joining Limitless Academy, links are below. Epic community. I mean, we like jive like this all the time. You should see the women in there rising higher. It's just so epic. Would love to have you there as well. All right, all my love. And if you are ready for a major reinvention, then apply for our 6-month mentorship. I think we have 2 spots left. All right, love you. Bye, guys.